live right here on X, on YouTube, on Rumble, on Facebook. It is good to see you. Listen, I have been dying all day to watch this video of Hunter Biden with you. You can check with Spencer. I have been laughing my head off all morning, watching this over and over again because it is not only the funniest video of Hunter Biden that you will ever see. There's a little bit of a surprise in what Hunter Biden says about Jeffrey Epstein in this video. I think you're going to like it. I'm going to wait until just a minute for everybody to log on here because I don't want you to miss watching this video. It's Hunter like you've never seen him before. And, you know, we've seen Hunter in a lot of ways. So when I say it's like Hunter like you've never seen him before, I mean that for once in the good way. Today's episode is sponsored by Cozy Earth. You know how every home has that one spot that you think about throughout the day, that place where you can finally just exhale and cuddle up and relax? Well, for me, that's my couch. And with Cozy Earth and their new bubble cuddle blanket, I just got this in the mail this week, you guys. And I got to tell you, I am obsessed. It's more than just a place to cuddle. It is the one place in my house that actually helps me recharge. Cozy Earth bedding is made from viscose from bamboo, and it really does regulate your temperature. And I'm talking about the bed sheets too, in a way that other bed sheets don't. It's soft. It's ridiculously soft, actually. It almost reminds me of the jersey sheets from college, but a little more adult than that. It stays cool. It breathes. It makes it genuinely harder to get out of bed in the morning. And they offer for their bed sheets a 100-night sleep trial, so you can try it out risk-free, and a 10-year warranty, which tells you they're pretty confident you won't be sending it back. But I got to tell you, you know I love the sheets. I talk about them all the time, but I highly recommend their bubble cuddle blanket. My 4-year-old has been making a little nest for herself on the couch to read her books, and it's so cute. And it's like, it feels weighted too, so it's that perfect, like, helping you relax. Highly recommend it. Head to CozyEarth.com. Use my code Liz for up to 40% off. That's CozyEarth.com, code Liz. And if you get a post-purchase survey, make sure you let them know that you heard about Cozy Earth right here on The Liz Wheeler Show. Okay, let me check and make sure that everybody has joined us because you do not want to miss this video. Like I said, I've been laughing my head off at this video all day. I've watched it probably half a dozen times. You can ask my producer, Spencer. I've been pretty giddy about watching this. So there's a YouTuber by the name of Andrew Callaghan. He's pretty well known on YouTube, but he doesn't have a ton of crossover into conservative politics per se. So you may not have seen him on X if that's where you get your news. And he's not really in the conservative podcast circles, if you will, but he is pretty prominent on YouTube. Appeals to I assume a younger demographic. That's usually who follow the YouTubers, is the Gen Zers. He has a show called Channel 5 News Show, and I assume he named it. I didn't ask him this, but I assumed he named it Channel 5 News Show sort of as a joke because he dresses kind of grunge and it's more like casual settings. It almost looks like it's ironically named Channel 5 News Show. Let's just say that. Well, Andrew Callaghan interviewed Hunter Biden. Now, this is actually the second time that Andrew Callaghan has interviewed Hunter Biden. 2 weeks ago, he interviewed Hunter, and we showed a clip of that interview on the show because that was the one that Hunter Biden was dropping the F-bomb left and right, talking about the different Democrats who think they're all that but have no power. He called out David Axelrod. He called out Obama. And it was kind of a humorous video of Hunter Biden because he was just completely unleashed. We haven't heard from Hunter Biden even during the Hunter Biden laptop scandal and the Biden administration and Ashley Biden's diary. Hunter Biden was never, I don't know if he wasn't allowed on TV or his father requested that he not go on TV, or maybe he chose not to. But I feel like we only heard from Hunter Biden when we saw those disgusting videos and photos of him from his laptop. Well, now that his father's out of office, apparently he is beginning to resurface. And Andrew Callaghan interviewed him 2 weeks ago, but just interviewed him again yesterday and asked him about Jeffrey Epstein and whether Jeffrey Epstein killed himself or not. And this is how Hunter answered. Take a listen.
Do you think it was like a suicide? Epstein?
No. Nobody does. I mean, really, except for all of a sudden Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. Nobody thinks it was. Yeah. Is that you have that renowned doctor, a coroner, that did the, what's it called?
Postmortem autopsy.
Yeah, the postmortem autopsy.
I don't know if that's what it's called.
Who talks about all the different, the different fractures in his neck and how it was impossible that he could have done that by simply leaning forward. forward.
strangling yourself.
What?
You can't commit suicide.
Exactly. And
You
he
can't
says,
strangle yourself to death, even
No.
if you hate life.
yes, exactly. That literally is an impossibility in a fiction. And there's this idea that what he did is like he leaned forward. Well, none of it matches up. There's that guy that just testified not testified, he was interviewed that was in the cell next to Jeffrey Epstein's. And he said it's just absolutely impossible that he would have been able to do that. Now you have the tape that comes out, and it's not just 1 minute missing from the tape. It's actually 3 minutes from the tape has been
Well,
overwritten.
you know that's standard protocol at the most secure facility in the country.
Well, that just yeah. I mean, it's and just that alone, you have someone that everyone absolutely knows that if anything happens to him is going to be you're going to be accused of a gigantic cover-up, and he dies, and the guy that is his co-conspirator in France, what's his name? He just happens to commit or died in mysterious ways in prison, and the woman who's living in Australia, she commits suicide just before the. I mean, like, look again. I'm feeding into the conspiracy, but clearly, I mean, who believes that he killed himself?
No one.
Nobody.
Did you ever think that you would have the same opinion as Hunter Biden? Did you ever think you'd listen to Hunter Biden and be like, oh yeah, that dude has a point? I kind of hate myself after watching this video because I think Hunter Biden is kind of likable in this video. He's acting like someone who, forgive my censored profanity here, but he's acting like someone who doesn't give a flying F. He is just calling it how he sees it. And maybe the funniest part of the whole thing is he is actually savvy. Like, you can tell this is not someone who is just commenting on the wave tops of the news. He's actually following this story extremely closely because he knew all of the details. It actually made me wonder. I think Hunter Biden might watch this show because the train of evidence that he presented when substantiating his position that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself was exactly the train of evidence that you and I have been talking about on this show for the past 6 months. So listen, Hunter, what's your handle in the live chat? Please weigh in. We cordially extend an invite to you to join us on this show. We would love to talk to you about almost every aspect of your life. Almost every aspect. We promise to be respectful. He also was asked, by the way, who killed Jeffrey Epstein if Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself? And this is what Hunter said in response. Take a listen.
Who do you think would have killed him? Like CIA mercenaries or something?
No, I don't know.
Other inmates? Because inmates
What, like
do.
you mean like a ninja? Are we like in a
Somebody killed him in a
James
3-minute
Bond
window.
movie now? What?
I mean, somebody killed him in a 3-minute window.
It was Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. Yeah.
Also, other inmates don't accuse child molesters.
Yeah. Well, look, I don't think it's very hard, at least from my years of watching Hollywood prison movies.
Yeah.
For something, my whole experience with the prison system. But it seems, at least from other events, that getting to somebody in prison isn't as hard as you think it would be. But I don't know. I mean, I just don't. I think that there were probably a lot of people who would rather him not be alive. And by the way, but does it matter? I mean, at this point, I mean, obviously it matters, and if you could ever figure it out. But it doesn't answer the question of why there's been this slow about face. It's like, that whole story about, and it's too long a story to tell, but it starts off with the guy who calls and he said, he's watching somebody's cat, calls and asks, and the guy calls and how's the cat? And he said, the cat's on the roof. You know this whole thing?
I don't know, but I'll look into it.
He says the cat's on the roof, and then the guy says, what's the cat doing up in the roof? He said, call me back in 10 minutes. And he calls him back in 10 minutes. He said, well, the cat's off the roof now, but he fell into the trash can. And the guy goes, well, we'll go get him out of the trash can. He said, well, we're out of the trash can, but, I was carrying him back, and he fell in the pool, and so he's in the pool now. And he goes, and it keeps going and going and going. And finally he goes, how's the cat? And he said, the cat died. And he says, why did you tell me he was on the roof? And he said, I just wanted to soften the blow. And I forget why I just told the cat on the
No, I
story.
understand. I understand the blow's getting
Is
soft.
what they did is they started off and they released like one thing. But it wasn't the full thing, and then they kind of wanted to see if they could kind of get away with that and get people off it and say, well, there's going to be a round 2 of this, and I didn't get it from the FBI, and the Southern District of New York has all the files, and of course it's the Southern District of New York, a bunch of liberal commies up there. You know, we're going to get them under heel, and then when Cash gets in, he's going to be able to figure it out, and old Danny Boy is going to go in, and he's going to, you know, shake the trees and make sure. And then they get that, and then those guys go on TV and they say, well, no, there was definitely not a suicide. It was definitely a suicide. It was clearly a suicide. Sorry, I'd be the one to tell you otherwise. And then, like, until the point where they thought that they could just kind of like slide this in on a Friday at midnight and see what happened, that they're not going to do anything more.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. We just heard the end of the Epstein story.
Like I said, the Hunter Biden was painted by the media as, oh, don't punch at Joe Biden's addict son. That children are off limits. And we were like, Hunter Biden's like 50 years old. What are you talking about? He's not a child. He's also incredibly politically savvy, as you heard him speak for yourself. By the way, did you see that photo of me that they used in their reel? The photo of me holding the Epstein binder outside the White House. Ugh! I hate that that's in there. I hate that that's included in their video. It's pretty remarkable, I think, that Hunter Biden's only experience with the prison system is Hollywood movies. Sure, that was a funny quip of his. I don't think it was just a funny quip. I think it was a little jab at us, really, at the right, at Republicans, because Joe Biden pardoned him before Joe Biden left the White House. And so Hunter Biden's never going to be held accountable for being the bag man of the Biden family crime syndicate. Someone posted in response to this, and I don't know who it is, so I don't mean to steal your thought here, but I don't remember the username of the person that posted this. I think it might have been on X. Someone posted that Hunter Biden's voice sounds really eerily similar to the voice that came through Joe Biden's body double that last year of Joe Biden's presidency. And I gotta say, my husband's voice sounds similar to his brother's voices. So I understand family resemblance, even not just, in what you look like, what your face looks like, or how tall you are. I understand that voices also have similarity if you're in the same family, but it is eerie. It's creepily similar to Joe Biden. If I close my eyes, I don't think I'd be able to differentiate between Hunter Biden's voice, even the phrases that he uses, the mannerisms, the cadence that he uses, and Joe Biden's voice, at least a younger version of Joe Biden. I think we can all identify Joe Biden's voice during that very sad and pathetic last year of his presidency. But it is awfully eerie, isn't it? A little bit too similar. I have a career recommendation for Hunter Biden. I don't know if you noticed in that video, Spencer, you don't have to play the video, but just put the still back up on the stream. Do you know where he's sitting, what he's doing in this video while he's being interviewed by Andrew Callaghan? He's in his art studio. So the paintings, the Hunter Biden exclusive paintings, these Monets.
Watching a Hollywood prison
Yeah,
movie.
look at this. Hold on. We'll fast forward it to look. He's sitting in his art studio. He's literally holding a palette of paints in his hand. You cannot make this stuff up. Hunter Biden is truly an artiste, guys. He is an artiste. But here is my career advice for Hunter Biden. Now that he can't serve as the money collector for the Biden family crime syndicate anymore, and now that his paintings have, I believe, the market has given some equilibrium to his paintings, and the value has been reduced to what they are actually tangibly worth, which is nothing. I suggest Hunter Biden that he start a podcast. And I actually mean this. I'm totally serious. This is not a joke. This is not a quip. This is not me being humorous. Hunter Biden should start a podcast. I would definitely listen to this podcast. I think it would be not only entertaining, but extremely informative. And this is the title that I submit to Hunter Biden for the name of his podcast. Bagman. Would you not watch that show? Would you not get information, highly valuable information from this show? Of course he would. It would rocket to the top of the podcast because he's not stupid. He might be a crack addict. He might be corrupt. He might be a criminal. He's not stupid. Here's my question, though. A little food for thought for you. Was Hunter Biden in these videos, is it hilarious to listen to him because he doesn't give a rat's tail, right? Is it completely authentic and organic because he doesn't care about the Democrat establishment narrative, what he's supposed to say, what the party tells him what to say? Is that why it's entertaining to us, just because it's actually someone just being himself? Or is Hunter Biden embarking on a Gavin Newsom style campaign, sort of a reputation rehabilitation campaign, if you will? The reason that President Trump, remember back in 2015, the reason that President Trump gained so much popularity is not just because he spoke to the valid grievances of the American working class, which he did. It's also because it was so refreshing to us as voters, as Americans, to hear a politician running for office who wasn't so calculated, who didn't sound like a robot, who didn't sound like a politician. He didn't sound rehearsed or faked. He was just speaking off the cuff. He was ad-libbing. He was telling stories and making comments, not caring about the backlash or the repercussions. He wasn't so coldly calculated, and people related to that because it's I hate this word because the left has co-opted it, but setting that aside for a moment, there was authenticity in the way that Trump presented himself and still does to this day. So is that why we are laughing at Hunter Biden, because he is unencumbered by any kind of political ambitions, and he actually hates the Democrat establishment? So not only is he not adhering to their preferred narrative, he's like actively thumbing his nose at them? Or is this his Gavin Newsom style? Like, let me present myself as a likable creature, a likable character here, and get some sympathy from the American people so that public opinion is on my side, so that even though I've been pardoned by my father, if red state attorneys general come after me, then the public isn't really on board with it. Which is it? Why is he it's just funny to me. I don't know the answer to that question, by the way. It's not a rhetorical question. It's funny to me that we have never heard from Hunter Biden before, at least intentionally. I mean, I guess we heard him when he was in his sensory deprivation egg. That doesn't count. It's funny to me that we've never heard from him before, and now all of a sudden he's doing these long-form interviews talking about the most polarizing political topics of the day. Be Stoic in the live chat says Hunter is running for political office. Listen, I wouldn't put it past Democrats to try to get Hunter Biden into office. Think about it. Elizabeth Warren, the politician who claimed to be Native American because she says she has high cheekbones, she published a recipe called, what was it, like cookbook called like Pow Wow Chow or Pow Wow Chicken or something. She identified as a Native American to the point that she would do something like that, and then took a DNA test when Republicans say, I don't think you're a Native American. And then published that she's 1,028th or 54th or whatever it was, Native American, and she's still in office. She's still in the leadership of Democrats in the Senate. Listen, if the Democrats are able to hold on to that kind of politician, I would not put it past them to have Hunter Biden running for political office. I don't know that would happen now. That's not necessarily my front runner for theories about why he's doing this. I think he probably just didn't want to be quiet during the Biden administration, and now that his father's not in office anymore, he's like, I'm my own boss now. But I guess we'll have to see. I would say be on the lookout if he does more of these interviews. Be on the lookout for reputation rehabilitation, because we don't want Democrats who happen to be good on camera or kind of funny when they're off the cuff because they don't care. We don't want them to. We don't want to forget what they did. The House Oversight Committee. I don't know if you guys heard about this. This is a pretty big deal. The House Oversight Committee subpoenaed a whole host of Democrat characters over the Epstein documents, including Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. And there are specific dates already set on the calendar for when these individuals are compelled to appear before the United States Congress for questioning. I'm going to read you this post from Congressman James Comer, who's the chair of the Oversight Committee, in just a moment. But first, I want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors for today's show, All Family Pharmacy. Are you tired of doctors telling you no? You can't get prescriptions for affordable off-patent medications. Insurance won't cover what actually works for you. Well, if so, you're not alone. Millions and millions of people in our country are frustrated with our broken healthcare system. All Family Pharmacy is different. They're a patient first, independent pharmacy, and they connect you with licensed US doctors who approve your prescriptions online, fast, and of course, legally. No gatekeeping, no insurance middleman, no red tape. They offer affordable, high demand medications that are often hard to access, sometimes because of political gatekeeping. Ivermectin, starting at just $2, medbendazole, hydroxychloroquine, antibiotics, NAD. Or you can order online. It takes just minutes. A licensed doctor reviews your order, approves your prescription. Medications ship straight to your door. No clinic visits, no hassle. Everything is secure, HIPAA compliant, and pharmacist reviewed. You choose the medication, not an insurance company or a scared physician. Real healthcare freedom. You decide what's right for your body. Transparent pricing, no surprise bills, trusted by thousands of Americans who are taking control of their health. It's time to put your medical freedom back in your hands. That's why All Family Pharmacy exists. That's why I am proud to partner with them. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/Liz. And because you are part of this MAHA movement, this medical freedom movement, use code Liz10 at checkout for an exclusive discount. It's your health. You make the choice. No more waiting. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/Liz, code Liz10. Okay, the House Oversight Committee, chaired by Congressman James Comer, has issued a subpoena, multiple subpoenas actually, a whole host of subpoenas for really powerful politicians, most of them Democrats, although not all Democrats, compelling these individuals to appear for depositions on specific dates. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has been subpoenaed to appear before Congress on October 9th. Former President Bill Clinton subpoenaed to appear before Congress on October 14th. I wonder how he'll react to that. Will he claim executive privilege? Will he claim immunity? That would be wild to have Bill Clinton testify before the House Oversight Committee. We're talking not just Comer, we're talking Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, who knows how to ask a question. We're talking Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who never pulls any punches. On October 2nd, former U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland is subpoenaed to appear before Congress. Former FBI Director James Comey has been subpoenaed to appear on October 7th. Former U.S. Attorney General William Barr, August 18th. That one's coming up soon. Former U.S. Attorney General Alberto Gonzales has been subpoenaed to appear on August 26th. Former U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions has been subpoenaed to appear on August 28th. Former FBI Director Robert Mueller has been subpoenaed to appear on September 2nd, although there have been some reports that Robert Mueller has been living in a memory care facility for the past couple of years. I don't know if those reports have been confirmed, so just reports that I've read, so maybe they're more accurately described as rumors. Although I would say the reason I'm bringing it up is because they rumor or report, they're plausible given how senile Robert Mueller appeared when he presented his Russiagate report all those years ago now. On September 9th, former U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch has been subpoenaed to appear before Congress. And on September 30th, former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder has been subpoenaed to appear before Congress. This is coming up soon. This is 2 weeks from now that the first of these individuals has been told that they must appear before Congress. What do we expect to happen? What are they going to say? Are they going to appear before Congress and just say, I don't recall. I couldn't really tell you. Or is that just going to be James Comey? Will Hillary Clinton actually show up to a congressional testimony? Will Bill Clinton? Will any of these individuals? I mean, you have to wonder if the Oversight Committee will hold them in contempt of Congress if they refuse to show up and respond to these subpoenas. And if they're held in contempt of Congress, they, of course, can be arrested. They must be asked about why the Biden administration, specifically those who worked for the Biden administration, which a bunch of these people did, why they didn't release any of the Epstein files. If Epstein was in any way, shape, or form associated with, not necessarily an employee of, associated with or utilized by, even off the books, by any intelligence source or agency or sub-agency, and if so, how? If there was some kind of sweetheart deal that was intentionally created because he was associated with some kind of intelligence, you know that that's my That's the theory that I find to be most plausible about what happened with Jeffrey Epstein, that he was used as a liaison for some transaction because he was a financier with international connections to the richest, most wealthy or wealthiest people in the world, that he was used as a liaison off the books. He wasn't an official asset or informant or employee of any intelligence agency, but he was used off the books for some kind of transaction or business deal that the US government had an interest in being involved in, but couldn't appear to be involved in. And I think Epstein was used by the US government, probably other governments. I don't know which one, whether it was French intelligence or Saudi intelligence or UK intelligence or Israeli intelligence. He was probably used by more intelligence agencies than just US intelligence agencies to be an off the books type of liaison. And because of that, he probably was let off easy when it was exposed that he was sexually abusing underage girls, that he was sex trafficking underage girls. And I think that there is evidence of that somewhere in the bowels of the US government. And if there's anybody who would be in a position to know, it would be the list of people that was just subpoenaed by House Oversight. Ghislaine Maxwell also would be in a position to know this. Ghislaine Maxwell is now being interviewed by the Department of Justice. Pam Bondi's Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche spent 9 hours with Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell served as Epstein's madam. She was also his girlfriend and business partner. Super twisted, disgusting relationship. She recruited the underage girls and supplied them to Epstein to sexually abuse. There were also reports that she took part in the abuse. At least that was the testimony of some victims. She's now serving prison time because she was convicted of sex trafficking underage girls. But no FBI had ever interviewed her before related to Jeffrey Epstein. What? No Department of Justice. At least this is what Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche said before Todd went and interviewed her. And it's so mind-boggling that no Department of Justice had ever interviewed her. So first of all, I don't think that when we're looking at what she says, and there are reports that are beginning to leak what she has said to the Trump administration. We're going to get into that in a second. But baseline, before we even get into her claims, I don't view Ghislaine Maxwell as a credible person. I don't view what she says as I don't give her the benefit of the doubt that she's telling the truth. I actually assume the opposite. This is a woman who is serving time in prison because she was convicted in our justice system of sex trafficking underage girls. She is a despicable human being. Why would she tell the truth? Well, the only reason that she would talk at all is if she had some personal interest in talking. It's not because she wants to be on the news. It's not because she craves attention. It's because she wants something from the Trump administration. So she's offering something to them that they want. I'm sure, asking for something in return. I'm sure she's trying to strike some kind of bargain with them. She wants to be pardoned. She doesn't want to spend all this time in prison. And if she is in prison, she wants to be in a cushier situation. She was already transferred to a prison in Texas, which we'll talk about in a second. But there are reports today. Let me bring this up. The New York Post reports today that Ghislaine Maxwell told the Department of Justice that President Trump, who obviously knew Jeffrey Epstein, that President Trump never did anything concerning around her. This is what the New York Post reports. Jeffrey Epstein's madam, Ghislaine Maxwell, reportedly told Justice Department officials in recent interviews that she never saw President Trump doing anything concerning. The notorious sex trafficker gave no information that could potentially harm Trump's reputation, sources told ABC News. Maxwell had huddled with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who was also Trump's former criminal defense lawyer, for 9 hours last month. Her lawyer previously revealed that Maxwell had answered questions about 100 different people as she tries to hash out a deal with the feds to spill secrets about her late pedophile ex. Trump, for his part, has long denied prior knowledge of Epstein's crimes, insisting he cut off their relationship long ago. Ghislaine's lawyer, David Oscar Marcus, said immediately after Ghislaine sat down with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, quote, "The Deputy Attorney General is seeking the truth. He asked every possible question and he was doing an amazing job." Marcus says he didn't ask for anything from Maxwell in return, but acknowledged Trump could pardon her. Okay. He didn't ask for anything in return, but did you know Trump could pardon her? Yeah, okay. Again, you don't look at this woman and anything she says with credibility. Now, we already know, by the way, I'm not saying that she's wrong about the fact that Trump didn't commit any crimes against underage girls. We already know that. It's the left's desperate, pathetic attempt to try to associate him with Jeffrey Epstein, but really nobody believes that anymore. Even people that don't like Trump don't believe it. They're just trying to throw the worst accusation at Trump that they can possibly come up with, because none of the reasons they actually dislike Trump are valid. However, all of that being said, Ghislaine Maxwell is not a credible person, not a trustworthy person. She's obviously seeking a pardon, or she's seeking a cushier prison experience. And this is where I would differ with how it seems that the Department of Justice is handling this case. Ghislaine Maxwell has already been transferred to a different prison experience. She is now at Camp Bryan in Texas, which is a very low security prison camp. There aren't like barbed wire fences. It's like a bunkhouse type of situation. It's a pretty cushy prison experience as far as prison experience goes. I'm sure it's still unpleasant, but it is the most desired location if you're going to be behind bars. She's already been transferred there since she talked to Todd Blanche. That's not a coincidence. That obviously happened as a result of talking to Todd Blanche, which means it was probably a condition that she set forth for even having the conversation with Todd Blanche. Hey, I'll talk to you if you get me out of here and put me in Camp Bryan in Texas. This is how I would have handled this differently. Ghislaine Maxwell is a convicted sex trafficker. I would not have given her even one concession. I would not have given her any kind of deal until she told me something that I didn't know or provided me substantiation, proof of something I knew that I needed proof of. She's not, as Trump said to Zelensky in the Oval Office that infamous day, you don't hold the cards, I hold the cards. In this case, I know Pam Bondi has made it pretty difficult for the Trump administration because of her botched handling, her misleading, exaggerating comments, and her lies about the Epstein files. Again, we can go over all of that as we've done many times before. This would never have been a thing had it not been for the fact that Pam Bondi wanted to be a Fox News star. This would never have been a thing. So I get the Department of Justice is a little desperate for some kind of win when it comes to the Epstein files, but still, compared to Ghislaine Maxwell, they at least hold the cards. I would never have rewarded Ghislaine until she gave me something of actual substance. And there's no evidence that she did that. In fact, there's evidence that she's still the same person that she was, or that she still has the same character that she did when she committed the hideous sex crimes against children. Because look at her behavior since she's been at Camp Bryan in Texas. There's a report from Radar Online that Ghislaine Maxwell is now buddies with Elizabeth Holmes. Yeah, that Elizabeth Holmes. Remember the Theranos girl? The artificial deep voice. She has these real weird buggy eyes. I can diagnose everything from the drop of a blood if you just give me billions and billions of dollars. Well, she was a liar, a fraudster. She's now serving time in prison for it, in the same prison that Ghislaine Maxwell was just transferred to. And now listen to this report from Radar Online. From first-class lounges to federal lockup, Ghislaine Maxwell and Elizabeth Holmes have reportedly found friendship behind bars at the cushy Texas lockup they now call home. According to Rob Shooter's Substack, the two disgraced women are inseparable inside federal prison Camp Bryan, where they're both serving time for their high-profile crimes. They walk together, eat together, and talk for hours, one prison insider dished to Shooter. It's like high school all over again if high school were full of felons. Maxwell, age 63, was transferred from a stricter prison in Florida to Bryan recently, a move that sparked an immediate rebellion among inmates. The convicted sex trafficker and longtime associate of Jeffrey Epstein is serving a 20-year sentence for grooming underage girls for Epstein's abuse. So she was given this as a condition, probably of just sitting down with Todd Blanche. Meanwhile, because truth is stranger than fiction, because you can't make stuff up like this, Barack and Michelle Obama's house on Martha's Vineyard. You remember this super ritzy house that they bought right after Barack left office, and everyone was like, dude, you were a junior senator from Illinois, and your wife was a hospital administrator. You were president for 8 years. How come all of a sudden you have as much money as like the richest Hollywood celebrities? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Well, they bought this Martha's Vineyard house because they wanted to be like friends with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. The same house, remember where Barack Obama's chef, the gay chef, mysteriously died? He drowned in that pond. I think it was called Edgartown Great Pond. Well, Barack and Michelle Obama put that house up for sale, and guess who bought it? Barack and Michelle Obama's Martha's Vineyard house was purchased by Les Wexner. Les Wexner is a name that might ring a bell because Les Wexner's personal money manager, Les Wexner, by the way, is like a billionaire. His personal money manager was Jeffrey Epstein. Les Wexner is he's the founder of L Brands, so like Victoria's Secret, Bath and Body Works, and he's a longtime associate of Jeffrey Epstein. They met in the 1980s. In 1987, Epstein became Wexner's financial manager, handling all of Wexner's family's personal finances. And they did business deals together. In 1989, Epstein and Wexner purchased that infamous Epstein Manhattan townhouse for $13 million. Yeah, that wasn't just Epstein's. Epstein and Wexner purchased that together. From 1994 to 2007, Epstein owned a home on Wexner's estate. Wexner lives outside of Columbus, Ohio, in New Albany, Ohio. Epstein owned a home on Wexner's estate. These guys, these two men were at the very least financially intertwined. So it's a little weird, isn't it? That Les Wexner is the one that purchased Barack and Michelle Obama's Martha's Vineyard house. I mean, as I said, the truth is sometimes stranger than fiction because you read this stuff and you're just like, this is just too weird for words. You remember the story of what happened with Obama's chef who drowned on that property. His chef's name was Tafari Campbell, and he was out like paddleboarding or something on the pond. And I mean, reportedly like fell off of the paddleboard and drowned. It was like 8 feet of water. It was a very strange, I mean, obviously tragic circumstance, but a very strange circumstance to begin with because it was just kind of unexpected. It was a little bit of a unbelievable story. You don't just fall off a paddleboard and drown typically. And there was, to our knowledge, no other investigation, no other explanation. It was just accepted. It was really strange. This comes after Barack Obama. And again, truth is stranger than fiction. Barack Obama goes on Michelle's podcast and says, you know, every young man needs an older gay male mentor because, you know, boys' fathers just aren't enough to be mentors. And we're like, what are you saying, Barack? What are you saying? Your father's not a good mentor. What you need is an older gay mentor. What are you saying? What are you talking about? And that comes on the heels of Barack Obama once writing in a letter. This is years ago, to be fair, but he still did it. Years ago, he once wrote in a letter about his homosexual fantasies, even though it was like homosexual fantasies in his mind. He didn't write about acting them out. But who writes about having homosexual fantasies in their mind? Well, Barack Obama does. So now Les Wexner buys the Obama house, and we're just supposed to be like, okay, that's normal. Everything looks fine here. I don't know. You tell me. Truth is stranger than fiction, and I typically believe that. But this is weird. So originally, CNN had reported that there was a significant meeting that was supposed to take place tonight related to the Epstein documents. And I want to read this exact report from CNN reporter, what is her name? Elena Treen. She said she reported, when was this? She reported yesterday at 9:09 p.m. White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, J.D. Vance, Attorney General Pam Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche are expected to meet Wednesday evening at Vance's residence to discuss the Trump administration's strategy relating to the Epstein case. She said the meeting comes as the Trump administration is preparing an audio recording and transcript of Blanche's interview with Ghislaine Maxwell last month. 2 officials told CNN that the materials could be made public as early as this week. There have also been internal discussions about Blanche holding a press conference or doing a high-profile interview, possibly with popular podcaster Joe Rogan, according to 3 people familiar with the discussions, though those conversations are preliminary. Okay. So my original reaction to this was actually, I wonder where Vice President JD Vance falls on the Epstein files. Like, does he agree with President Trump that, it's the Jeffrey Epstein hoax and kind of pushing back against the base, associating the Epstein files and the lack of transparency from Pam Bondi with their desire for justice? Does he fall? I mean, he had said previously, the vice president had said previously that it was important that we release the Epstein files. And I wonder where he falls on this now, because he hasn't commented on it publicly. And by the way, probably to his credit, JD Vance has done a remarkable job so far at being a credit to the president. He's been incredibly loyal to President Trump publicly, as he should. That's his role as vice president. He's incredibly skilled at synthesizing President Trump's positions and policies and then presenting that to the American people. One of the reasons President Trump chose JD Vance was because JD Vance was so skilled at going on opposition media appearances and exposing the left's lies and pushing back against their misrepresentation of Donald Trump's policies and their vilification of Trump himself. And that's good. Your vice president should be, it's like a married couple in a sense, right? Like the mom and the dad should be publicly in alignment. Even if they disagree on how to discipline the child privately, they shouldn't argue about that and undermine each other in front of the children. And that analogy, I'm not saying that JD Vance is the wife, but that analogy is somewhat the same. A vice president should, of course, publicly be loyal to the president, and JD Vance has done a really good job of this. At the same time, we know that JD Vance internally is very willing, not just to be some cowering yes man, whatever you want, Mr. President, which I, if I were president, would find grotesque. He's been very willing to publicly be super loyal to President Trump, but also privately offer his own thoughts on important matters. We know this, for example, from Signalgate, when Jeffrey Goldberg of The Atlantic released those Signal chats of these high-ranking Trump administration officials, including Vice President JD Vance, talking about the U.S. military strikes in Yemen on the Houthi rebels. JD Vance internally, among this group of principals, so Tulsi Gabbard and Rubio and Pete Hegseth, and at the time Mike Waltz, before he was kicked out, he was one that was actually, I don't know if it was playing the devil's advocate or presenting a dissenting view on those strikes against the Houthis in Yemen. And he did that privately, and he did it in a pretty strong way privately. And then publicly, he obviously defended the president's position. And I thought at the time, this actually increased my respect for JD Vance, because it's not an easy thing to do that. It's very easy to be loyal to the president publicly, loyal to the president privately. You want to defer to somebody and just say, yes, sir, all the time. It's pretty easy to do. Or you want to be a constant critic and be like, oh, President Trump publicly, and oh, President Trump, let me present a dissenting view privately. That's also easy to be a critic. It is not easy to be a loyal supporter who also has the courage to say, as a loyal supporter, I strongly disagree with this, or I suggest that we consider an alternative. And my respect for JD Vance increased actually after Signalgate, because I thought, oh man, Vice President Vance is doing this job in a professional, respectful, really competent way. And it increased my respect for the vice president. It makes me wonder in this circumstance where JD Vance falls on the Epstein files and the transparency or the lack of transparency from Pam Bondi and this, I mean, call it whatever you want, this botched communication rollout, this weird association that didn't used to exist between the base, us now viewing the Epstein files as, are we going to get the justice that we voted for? I wonder where he falls on this. That's the first thing. My second reaction to the report from CNN about this meeting was that, regardless of who it is, maybe Vice President Vance would be the best one to present this in such a meeting, is whatever you decide about releasing the Ghislaine Maxwell transcripts. And I actually understand, as much as I am a proponent of radical transparency, especially after what has happened with Pam Bondi and the binders and, the leaked memo to Axios and all of that nonsense. As much as I am a proponent of radical transparency, I do think President Trump has a very valid point when he says, listen, Ghislaine Maxwell talks about 100 different names. We can't release the names of 100 different people if there's not evidence that they committed a crime. because it would ruin their reputation in the eyes of the public. It is character assassination because the public will associate those names with a pedophile. And that's, I mean, it's unfair, it's unjust, it's immoral. I think it's illegal for the Department of Justice to do that. So President Trump is right to bring that up. He did so in a media interview over the course of the past week. However they decide to release the Ghislaine Maxwell transcripts, and I hope that there is a way for them to do it. Hopefully they're trying to figure that out. But there's something that they can do right now. Attorney General Pam Bondi can do right now that actually will answer a lot of questions. And that thing that can be done right now is the interview between the Department of Justice office, the OPR office, DOJ OPR is what it's called, interviewed Alex Acosta, the former U.S. attorney who cut that non-prosecution agreement with Jeffrey Epstein back in 2007. It was in that interview that Alex Acosta reportedly said, I was told to back off of Epstein because he belonged to intelligence. The transcript from that interview can be declassified and released at the order of Attorney General Pam Bondi. All she has to do is say, release that. And it's released. And that transcript alone of that interview with Alex Acosta in which he made that remark would answer a lot of questions. That's the kind of radical transparency that will assure the base that we are getting justice in addition to protecting the reputation of people who were not associated with Epstein's crimes, but may have known him like President Trump knew him. So whether it's Vice President J.D. Vance or someone else, turn to Attorney General Pam Bondi and tell her to declassify that transcript. She can do it just by signing a piece of paper. She can do it. Now, all of this being said, after this CNN report of this big meeting that was supposed to take place tonight, the office of the vice president is denying the existence of this meeting. Now, this comes some hours after CNN's original report. This is a very recent development. Within the past 2 hours, at 12:58 p.m., Mary Margaret Olahan of the Daily Wire reports that Vice President Vance's office flatly denies this reporting. The comms director for the vice president's office says, and I quote, "The CNN story is pure fiction. There was never a supposed meeting scheduled at the vice president's residence to discuss Epstein's strategy." End quote. Oh. Okay. It's an awfully specific denial. There was never a supposed meeting scheduled at the vice president's residence to discuss Epstein's strategy. Well, was it scheduled somewhere else? Not at the vice president's residence? Or was no such meeting ever scheduled or intended to take place? A little more transparency. Please, a little more transparency. We beg of you. All right. Do you remember the Big Balls scandal? I'm sorry. I know that's raunchy. It's what it's called, though. One of Elon Musk's young geniuses, one of his DOGE employees, was embroiled in, I mean, it was really a non-controversy. It was not really a scandal, where it was revealed that his online username was Mr. Big Balls. Do you remember that? Well, Mr. Big Balls is actually a hero. You are not going to believe this story. And we're gonna walk through it here. I want to show you a picture of this too. Not of that, but of what this guy did. I mean, this guy is truly, truly a hero. But first, I want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors for today's episode, XXXY Athletics. I'm super excited to be partnering with them because they are the only athletic brand standing up for American values, free speech, and biological reality. Hence the name. Get it? XXXY. Female, male. Men do not belong in women's sports. 79% of Americans agree with this. But many are too afraid to stand up and say it. Well, now you have some help. There's a brand doing it. So it makes it easy for you to do it too. You just wear the brand and you have made your statement. XXXY Athletics is the only brand defending free speech and the protection of women's sports. The clothes are high quality. When you wear them, you make a statement that you stand with women and girls. XXXY Athletics has amazing logo tees, premium workout clothes, including leggings, moisture-wicking tops and tanks, tennis dresses, skirts, shorts, and more. And you no longer have to sacrifice fit, quality, or style to wear your values. Why in the world would you give your money to the big brands that sell women out when you could wear XXXY Athletics? You're going to love their website. You ready for this? thetruthfits.com. thetruthfits.com. If you use my promo code BLAZE20, you get 20% off your order. That's BLAZE20 for 20% off only at thetruthfits.com. And you see in the background, that is Paula Scanlon, who we've had on the show, and Riley Gaines, two of the biggest names, former collegiate athletes who had been hurt by transgender identifying individuals. So men masquerading as women, stealing their opportunities and winning their trophies. Okay, thetruthfits.com. So you remember the story. Elon Musk hired this cadre of young geniuses. We're talking about guys that are an absolute whiz on the computer. Like Elon Musk, genius. And they went in and they doged the administrative state. They exposed corruption at USAID, at Department of Justice. And the left hated this. They hated this so much that they tried to dox the individuals who were on Elon Musk's team. And they tried to do everything that they possibly could to destroy the DOGE mission. Well, they invented this controversy because one of the young geniuses on Elon Musk's DOGE team was a young man named Edward Coristine. Edward Corstine was the youngest on the team. I mean, if you look at a picture of him, he looks extremely young. But it was revealed in a whole bunch of drama that Edward Coristine, 19 years old, had the online username Mr. Big Balls. Oh, the shock. Oh, the horror. Because, you know, that's raunchy. That's inappropriate. But, like, didn't a Democrat congressman sleep with a Chinese spy? Oh yeah, they didn't care about that, did they? No, not when Swalwell did it. They only care about an online username of a 19-year-old boy. Okay. So he gained a little bit of a following on X after this because there were a lot of conservatives that came to his defense. And he was, to his credit, he refused to be canceled. He said, he posted on X in the wake of this controversy and he goes, I'm not effing leaving. Like, you're not going to bully me out of doing my job here just because you don't like me and because you're trying to act like I was inappropriate. Okay. So fast forward to today, Edward Coristine, you can show the picture, Spencer, on the screen. I will warn people, this is a little, it has some blood in this picture. This guy's he's bloodied because he was beaten up. Edward Coristine is a hero. There was a woman in Washington, D.C. who was the victim of a violent carjacking, which, by the way, is extremely common these days in Washington, D.C. At least 8 different thugs, and these are being described as like teenage thugs or young thugs, these gangbangers, accosted this woman as she was trying to access her car. Edward Corstine sees this happening and goes to her defense. 8 against 1. He defends this woman so that she's not, I mean, God knows what would have happened to her. I shudder to even think about it. And he fights these guys so that this woman survives. And this is the result. He was brutally beaten and bloodied. He was taken to the hospital. He suffered a concussion because he saw something bad happening to someone and he came to her defense. And I mean, this guy is a hero. First of all, you have to wonder how many men in this day and age actually would intervene if they saw a woman being accosted, but accosted by 8, a gang of 8. And he goes in knowing, like, he knows he could get killed. He knows he could get hurt. He knows that this, at the very least, this is going to happen to him, and he does it anyway. Like, if this is the young generation, if this is Gen Z, good gracious, does that give me hope? I don't want to sound like an old person here, but good gracious, does that give me hope for our country? And perhaps this is his motivation. I went and I looked at his X account after I read this story because I thought, I mean, I am so impressed by this behavior. This is not a story you hear, this like knight in shining armor type of story. You don't hear about this very often anymore, even though women are still being victimized. You don't hear about these men that are coming in to, fight for women's honor. And, you see this guy willing to sacrifice himself for a stranger, a woman that he saw that was in trouble. And it's just so impressive. He posted this back in February. And I find this to be fascinating. Edward Coristine says, I am infinitely proud of my grandfather who defected from the KGB and spied for the Americans because he believed in the American principles of freedom and liberty. He was more brave and courageous than I can imagine. I hope to make him proud. He said he knew how much it could cost. He knew everyone back home wouldn't support him, yet he proceeded to do what he thought was right anyways and turned against the party. Is this not the most noble one can be? Does that not give you the chills? This might be a 19 or 20-year-old who has an immature username online, right? But this is not a 19-year-old, or he might be 20 years old now, who is lacking substance. This is a 19 or 20-year-old who's motivated in his work, whether that work is doging the administrative state and exposing corruption, fighting off cancellation by the vicious woke mob, or whether it's putting his own life on the line to defend a woman who is in danger, who is being attacked by thugs in DC, which is a dangerous hellhole thanks to Democrat policies that refuse to clean up the crime. And these services that he rendered to our country are not a coincidence. They're motivated by ideology, by properly ordered ideology, by love of country, because he's inspired what his grandfather did, by what his grandfather did, by defecting from the Soviet Union and choosing to become American despite the cost. Bravo, Edward. Bravo. These are the type of stories. This is the kind of behavior that makes America great. We're very proud of you. I want to take a moment here to talk to you guys about the cover-up on Blaze TV. Have you seen this? I know I mentioned it on the show yesterday, and a couple of you said that you've binged this already, and I know more of you are going to want to do this. If you have not yet seen this, this is a hard-hitting docuseries exposing how the federal government, how public health agencies lied to you during COVID. And yes, I know, you know that. From the virus's origins, to the lockdowns, to the vaccine narrative, and how big tech helped them cover it all up. This was not public health, right? This was information warfare. If you missed the first 4 episodes of this acclaimed series, then please binge them right now. You'll want to, because episode 5 just dropped and it is explosive. It's called Muckraker. It dives into the pandemic industrial complex, showing how Fauci, Birx, and government bureaucrats worked with social media platforms to silence the truth. We know that. We were victimized by that. Now, this is not just about censorship, of course. It's about mind control. Watch all 5 episodes now at FauciCoverUp.com. That's FauciCoverUp.com. If you use my URL, FauciCoverUp.com, you'll get $20 off your subscription. FauciCoverUp.com. All right. Someone in the live chat, I am going to call you out here. I just saw this fly past a minute ago. Someone says, an hour later and Liz is still yakking. Well, you're still watching, aren't you? And I still have one more thing to say. President Trump yesterday went for a little walk on the roof of the White House. This was the second funniest thing that I've seen in the last 2 days. The funniest thing, of course, Hunter Biden and his interview. But President Trump went for a walk on the White House, an unannounced walk. The press was like, is that President Trump on the roof? Now, obviously, for those of us with any common sense, we could see what President Trump was doing. He was obviously doing a construction walkthrough, because he's going to build that ballroom adjacent to the White House with his own money, by the way. This is not taxpayer funded. But when the press saw President Trump on the roof, they did what the press does. And they said, sir, what are you doing on the roof? Take a look at this.
Sir, why are you on the roof?
Mr. President, what are you doing up there?
Taking a little walk.
What? Taking a little walk, he says. It's good for your health. Oh, man, that just slayed me. And someone goes, what are you looking to build, sir? And listen to what he responded. See him walking towards the edge. The press is going to wait till he gets towards the edge. So nearing.
Mr. President, what do you want to build? What are you trying to build?
What?
Sir, do you approve? You say more missiles? Are you building missiles? What? Come on, Dad.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love when this man messes with the fake news. So they say, what are you looking to build, Mr. President? And he goes, nuclear missiles, and then does the hand motion like nuclear missiles. And the fake news, of course, doesn't laugh enough. They don't enjoy life enough, so they don't understand that that is simply hysterical. I think we don't appreciate President Trump enough, because even when he is in the midst of running the free world, running our country, and donating his own money to build a beautiful ballroom adjacent to the White House. He also takes the time not only to mess with the fake news, but to entertain us by doing the famous Trump dance on the roof of the White House. History books everywhere are delighted by this performance. Take a look. My favorite part of this, of course, isn't even President Trump dancing. It's all of the other, suited individuals all around him. Like, they don't know what to do. Should they join him? Do they just stand there awkwardly? And then, of course, the memes that came out of this. The winner of the funniest commentary, the darkly, like this is dark humor. It's really dark humor. But the funniest commentary of all, the winner is the Babylon Bee. They said, Secret Service in awe as Trump walks on moderately sloped roof. If that doesn't give you the chills, because they couldn't, of course, protect President Trump at Butler, Pennsylvania, because the Secret Service agent couldn't go on the roof because it was sloped. Dark. That's dark. It's the winner, though. It's the winner. You can't beat that. All right, guys, make sure that you're subscribed to the show, please. YouTube.com/Liz Wheeler, X.com/Liz_Wheeler. On Spotify, search The Liz Wheeler Show, hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. It's greatly appreciated. It's been wonderful sitting here with you, live streaming. I hope you enjoyed the Hunter Biden videos as much as I did. I was looking forward to this all day long. Funniest thing I've ever seen. I might even rewatch it again after we go off air here because it's just that funny. Thanks for being here today with me. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Liz Wheeler. This is The Liz Wheeler Show.